Well, I was gonna say that like me and Zero have been kind of like, I don't know. I can only really explain what's been going on in my mind.
Oh yeah,
Although
yeah.
I think it's kind of similar to what Liberty Zero's thinking about, where like a lot of, for me, a lot of like the ANCAP stuff that kind of got me into all of this, it really isn't ringing true anymore, you know? And it's weird. Like I think economics is not only interesting, but I think it's also useful. And I think that like modern popular economics, like modern monetary theory and all that kind of crap, and Keynesianism is I think it's horrible and it's wrong and it's leading to most of the problems. But I don't think that like just trying to I don't think like trying to educate people about Austrian economics is incredibly useful, because I don't think a lot of people are going to listen. You know, and then the other thing is, like, I was texting Zero about this recently. Like, you know, let's say we get Ancapistan, right? You know, who's to say that's going to last? You know, I don't think, like, I used to kind of not really think about that too much. Like, it occurred to me, but I'm like, well, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But it's definitely worth thinking about. And I
I
think, go ahead.
I agree with you completely. Like, I was on with the Agorist Nexus guys, and they're like, well, what do you mean you're not an agorist? And I was like, dude, I'm all for starving the state and, you know, the idea of agorism, but that's not enough to base your whole philosophy on, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You take the NAP, you take agorism, you know, you need more than one philosophy in order for a strong core to be there, I guess, because everything has weaknesses and you have to be able to, you know, move, or philosophical judo, I don't know, like the
Well,
proper fucking way to say it.
yeah. Let me just say this: if y'all are okay, then we can go ahead and start. Like, I made a timestamp for when I started talking, and we can just go ahead and get into it.
Do it up, boys.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so before we well and truly get started, I got to tell you, Gonzo, I'm about to open this chocolate banana imperial stout, brewed by Untitled Art in Waunakee, Wisconsin.
Right.
Let's see. It's 11% alcohol for 12 ounces, so I'm interested to see what that's going to taste like. So while I'm doing that, Zero, why don't you try to like speak to what you've been feeling like lately politically?
Man, I don't know. I'm not. I was not prepared to to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's my bad.
No, I mean, it's just I guess for me, it's not like you've been feeling it more than me. I kind of like I was talking to you about, like when I first got into anarcho-capitalism, like the idea of Ancapistan and all that, like I never really bought into that. And but as we've been talking about different stuff, like it's been like, yeah, no, you're dead on with what you're talking about. And then I looked a little bit into oh shoot, what's it? Neo-reactionism or reactionaryism?
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. And
Like Curtis Yarvin and Mencius Moldbug and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of what they talk about makes sense. And it's not something I've really been able to think about a whole lot this week, just because I listen to like 3 podcasts the whole week. It's been bad at work, but
well, that's kind of one thing I'm going through is like a lot of podcasts I used to listen to religiously, I'm just not interested in anymore. Like, part of the problem with Dave Smith, that used to be like the one podcast that I would listen to the one political podcast I would listen to every single episode.
yeah.
But now I don't care. Like, he wants to talk about Trump and politics and some loser on Twitter that like called him out for being a libertarian. I don't care, man. Like, it doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
and then like I don't know. I have like some issues with some things he says, but I think a lot of people are, and I think Gonzo, you'll probably agree with me on this. I think a lot of people are paying attention to things that just do not matter, and it's wasting their time, and it's like wasting their brain power. It's like their mental abilities are going towards things that are like set up. I don't know. I think
Twitter is total crap right now.
yeah.
Oh, it's so fucking bad.
It's bad. It's really bad.
I hate it. It's just so
I think
useless.
I've been shadow banned or something. Like
You might have been.
I just don't get I haven't been getting. Go ahead.
I think what we're seeing right now is we're seeing everybody is rooting for either the maggots or the corpse, you know, without realizing that this is all fucking doom. But we're going to argue about it. We're going to talk about it. Let's watch the Democratic debates so we can just drip hatred and stupidity and look at them and point and laugh. And do you have nothing better to do with your time than to play statist games or to watch statists play games?
There's a good chance that we're going to have a civil war after the election. If not a civil war, then at least like major civil unrest. And we're talking about the messaging of different political campaigns.
Right. When people should be focusing on stockpiling, in my opinion, and I might be a crazy ass prepper, I've been accused of it, but why aren't you stockpiling? Why aren't you getting like animals to feed yourself? Because you're relying on a government that's about to collapse to take care of you. We printed more money this year that it's a mind-boggling fucking number. 6 trillion is that correct?
Well, but Gonzo, you know, if a Republican prints the money, then it's okay.
Listen, they're all fucking retarded to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's even been stale on Twitter because it's, oh, well, let's talk about the Democratic debates. How about you go fuck all the way off?
Yeah.
You know, and, well, bottom unity, you can't be a dickhead. Oh, hold my beer and watch this.
Yeah. Twitter has sucked lately. I don't know. But like, I'm not interested at all. Like, I used to be kind of, like, I would pay attention to the news to laugh at it. Like, Trump would do something stupid. Stupid yet funny, you know. And I would pay attention to it and laugh at it. But now I just don't care. Like, I just don't care at all. And, like, I'll see something. Like, even, like, things you would think matter. Like that recently, that Nancy Pelosi stuff where she got her hair done at the salon.
They tricked me.
Yeah. I just but I don't care. Like, I feel like, because I pay attention to it all and I stayed up to date on it. And after I did all that, I felt like, You know that kind of crappy feeling you get when you eat something that's like super carb heavy, like just you eat a ton of French fries, or I felt like that. Like I just felt like crap, like I was eating junk food, you know. And that's kind of how I feel paying attention to politics at all right now. Like I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen, and it's a waste of time. Well, go ahead, Gonzo.
It's like critiquing the band on the Titanic as the fucking boat is sinking.
Exactly.
Like, you're paying attention to the wrong thing right now. And exactly. I don't know how to scream any louder into the void. And, you know, who the fuck am I? I'm some drug-addled degenerate, but I see this shit. How do you not see this? You know, there are things happening that have never happened in our lifetime, and some of our parents' lifetimes. I mean, entire fucking cities are still burning, and we're just like, oh, fuck it, it's Portland, it's Chicago. You know, oh, there are people clashing in Louisville, Kentucky, so what? No, that's a fucking problem, man.
It's crazy how separated we are from it.
Right. We're being fed bread and circuses, and everybody's like, more bread, more circuses. Like, you are some fucking, you know, this is why there's going to be a civil war at some point.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people in my area are upset that football hadn't started, man. We got to get some football.
And Let's watch boys in spandex jump on each other so we're distracted. What the fuck?
Like, and you know, I'm a football fan, but I also recognize how little it cares or it matters. I mean, it just, I don't care, you know, like it's fun, you know, it's like potato chips. Like it's okay to have every now and again, but it's not going to be your main diet. And for a hell of a lot of people, that's their main diet. You know, when football isn't on, they're watching ESPN, catching up on all the recruits and, you know, who's coming out of high school and what's going on with Coach O, you know, in my area. Everybody's interested. And it just doesn't matter, man. Like, I'm barely there to watch, like, the entire game. Yet, for these people, they watch the entire game and then some. And
do you not see it as a setup? Like, we've been fed this, like, the media empire has grown exponentially. Like, I remember being a small child in the 80s and early 90s, and you had, you know, 5 channels, maybe. Mm-hmm. Cable was just starting to become a thing. And, you know, you had to go to the video store to get old movies. The internet wasn't there yet. But just in my lifetime, it has grown so exponentially that I feel like if you were a conspiracy-minded individual, you could say, you know, like they're pulling the bait and switch, like, hey, look over here, look, while they're doing all this bad shit over here. And when you take a step back and you look at it, even the people who were supposed to be concerned, the small L libertarians, the anarchists, you know, the fringe of which we are comprised, they're still watching the fucking media. They're for what? The commentary? Because you're bored? I don't understand the mentality, but whatever they're doing, it's fucking working.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not convinced. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the only reason to watch the media is to pinpoint what narratives they're pushing, and that way you can prepare yourself better, and that's it, you know. And like, who cares if you're calling out like hypocrisy, you know? Like we get it. Yes, the media lies. Yes, they're hypocrites. Yes, Nancy Pelosi's a hypocrite. Like, this is like, we learned this in 2nd grade, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it should be like.
And that's kind of how I see the LP right now. Like, because I remember before Jo Jorgensen was named the candidate, right? Like I was really interested. I was interested enough to register with the national LP, and I thought I was going to be able to become a delegate, but I wasn't. But like I was excited about Hornberger, right? And I think he's a pretty cool dude, and I think he might have been able to do something interesting. Out of all the people running, I certainly wish he was the one representing the party. But that is taken. That's my stance, acting as if I still was interested in the party at all. But like, I think Hornberger was the best one of the bunch. And then I remember I was at Childerberg, and I woke up one morning and I checked my phone, and I see Jo Jorgensen was named the candidate. And I was telling people, and everybody, including myself, when I first read it, were like, "Who the hell is that? Who is Jo Jorgensen?"
I had never heard of her.
Yeah, and I mean, and she has proven to be like just a, I don't know the right term, just a dud, you know? Like, she's boring. Like, I don't, like, the only thing I know that has come from her this entire election cycle is her retarded tweets, which I don't think are hers. But,
No.
I mean, like, that's it. And that's not good. You know, and that's all I can associate with her after she was nominated was her retarded tweets. I mean, that's, and
can I throw a hot take at the two of you?
Absolutely.
And see what you do with it? All right. This is my hot take. I believe that the ballots are counted before the vote is cast. That is my contention. Now, I'm going to sit here and drink some Quiet Man 8-year-old single malt Irish whiskey and listen to the two of you talk about that.
Maybe. Like, what I was going to say was, I think that the LP is an op, and I think that...
Oh, you're talking specifically about the LP?
Yeah. Or no, I think Gonzo's talking in general, but like...
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Generally.
But like, I think the LP is just an op to tie up informed voters, so they don't vote for like who's actually going to win, you know?
Yeah, and in terms of like the ballot counting and all that,
yeah,
like yeah, that may be correct, but in my way of thinking, both those candidates are acceptable to the elites, you know. So even maybe it is like, maybe it's rigged, but even if they do count it correctly, like I don't think it really matters, because both of the candidates running are people that will like just follow what not the establishment, but what the elites want, you know.
Are you implying that you believe that there may be some kind of shadow government that actually is running shit, Zero?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And like, not even like, man, like, I think that there's the government that you see and the government that you vote on, right? And then there's the bureaucratic, you know, deep state, you know, whatever you want to call it. And then that's what the somewhat woke normies know about, right? And like that, you know, there's serious problems with that. But I'm also like, I think that there are the uber wealthy that really, they don't dictate, but they are very influential in guiding what happens in politics and policies and stuff like that. And it's the same thing with like this quote unquote pandemic, you know, or I'm nearly positive that, you know, it's, if not planned, like they kind of They kind of knew that it was coming, and then they planned for it. But I mean, you know,
I got
they
something.
knew that they could use it, even though it's not even.
This is the second pandemic I've seen Fauci run in my lifetime.
Yeah, he was with the AIDS.
Yeah, he killed off so many gay men with AZT, but we don't want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
I got
this is the second time.
Y'all.
Let's hear it, buddy.
I got something very hot for y'all. I'm not gonna put a link to this, because it's spooky. But if you go to a subsidiary website of the World Bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Zero, you might have seen this in one of the DM chats we're in. But if you go to a subsidiary website of the World Bank, you can see all of the countries that bought COVID-19 tests in 2017. And I'll tell you this, when I looked at it yesterday, it said COVID-19 test kits. Right now, I'm looking at it, and it says medical test kits. They changed it.
Good grief.
I wonder, I might be able to find it when it actually said COVID-19. I wonder if there's like a internet time machine thing, whatever it's called.
The Oldternet. The Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine. Oh, dude, I watched some Rocky and Bullwinkle the other day with my dad when our internet was out.
Yeah.
Rocky and Bullwinkle rocks, dude.
Bro. Dudes rock.
Dudes rock. Dudes definitely rock, not gonna lie. But I don't know. Like, I always thought, you cannot access this website on the Internet Archive Wayback Machine. How interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, I have a question.
I did see that, and I can vouch for it.
Wow. Go ahead, Zero. You had a question?
Yeah. So, like, I know that there's been a lot of talk of Civil War, and I don't think we're really, like, in that right now. Even though some might argue we are. But I do think that, you know, there's a good chance that there will be a Civil War, especially after the election. Now, do you guys think that that's, like, let's say it does happen. Are you guys under the impression that, like, that is part of the plan?
No.
Just like COVID-19, or do you think it's, like, just a result of events?
I think that the COVID-19 thing is to see what absolute dumb fucks like myself are willing to walk into places with surveillance with no mask on, possibly armed to the teeth. And I think that they're going to use that as, you know, any of the cattle that's doing what they're told and wearing a mask. We can scan over that. But let's look for the ones who don't. Let's see who they are. Let's look into that.
Yeah.
And I think that we're coming on to a rash of no-knock raids and a whole lot of get in the van. That is my prediction for election season. I hope I'm dead fucking wrong, but let's see.
Mm.
I don't know. Like,
there's a lot of people that don't wear masks, though.
I explicitly do not think there will be a civil war. Like, I think the closest thing America will probably ever see to a civil war is something that's already going on, and that's like where East and West Coast elites are doxing, like, Trump supporters from all around the country. Or, you know, even not Trump supporters, just like people that think outside of the box. You know, I think that's the closest thing. Like, I don't think any of those soy boys will go out into the streets with guns and, like, they have, but I guess I don't think that, like, they'll march into the Midwest. Like, I don't think if we do have something that you want to call a civil war, we will have to change the definition of civil war. Like I think it's going to be more.
I think what you'll see is there will be freemen that are considered insurrectionists against the state. This is going to boil down to statists versus anti-statists, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it won't be called a war. It'll be called an insurrection.
Yeah, and then the other thing that you kind of have to think about is, like, we have a very certain idea of, or we have defined parameters that we talk about war with, you know? But it doesn't have to be, oh, this state, you know, everyone in this state's down to go fight everyone in this state, right? Like the North and the South in the first not so Civil War. It might be just limited to the cities and, you know, very little action out in rural areas.
Well, the bulk of guns are held in rural areas, and the bulk of people who know how to use them live in rural areas.
Yeah, and then everyone in the city has to, like, they have to ship their food in.
Yeah, and I don't know how deep you two get into conspiracy theories, but
your boy gets deep.
Gets in there deep. Agenda 2030, man, and its precursors were aimed at getting people to move, or, you know, heavily populated, you know, centers. And the reason for that is control. You can cordon off a city. You can send the National Guard to the city. You can't send the fucking nasty girls to the Midwest. You can't send the nasty girls to Texas at large.
Yeah.
You can send them to Dallas. You can send them to Austin. You can send them to Houston, but you can't send them to Texas. Not like that.
Yeah.
You know, you could try to take over Ohio, but my money's on the Bloods and the Crips against the cops. I'm just saying. The cops have a losing record against the gangs where I'm from. So I think that there's something to that. Get everybody in one place because it's easier to control and starve them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, yeah, I'm like, I didn't know the like the name of that Agenda 2030, but I do. I'm well aware of that, and that's a conversation that my wife and I had not so long ago, where, like, I was just kind of giving my thoughts. I'm like, people don't belong in cities.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everyone should have land. And yes, then, you know,
absolutely.
And then in Agenda 2030, isn't it, like, they talk about how you should, like, if you live in a city, they want you to be able to get all of your necessities in, like, a, you know, like a 6-block area or something like that, to really cut down on how much you're moving.
Right. And when I used to be heavily into prepper fiction, like when I first got into the preparedness movement, and they talk about the first wave of, they called it the Golden Horde of the exodus from the city. And that's what, you know, people with land and livestock and preparedness mentality have to worry about is, okay, so they're going to hit the suburbs first, but then they're coming for your shit. And how are you going to handle that? And this is where things like gray man tactics come into play, and, you know, hiding what you have and the crazy dark side of prepping. But I don't think that I think there's a kernel of truth in that. There will be an exodus, or there will be a mass murder that we haven't seen since the late 30s.
Yeah.
Hey, well, guys, you know, USA Today said that Agenda 2030 isn't real. So,
when I want their opinion, I'll take my dick out of their mouth.
Caught in the way that you started that. I thought you were about to go into an ad. I'm like, wait, we have sponsors now?
High class, boys.
But I looked up 2030, and it led me to a USA Today article. And let me read you a little something here. It said the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is a resolution adopted by the UN General Assembly in 2015 that is focused around achieving 17 goals within 15 years. So they have 10 years to do a couple of these. Let's see here. Here's one. End hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. All right. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Okay.
I love how their solution for it is totally different from what we would recommend.
Yeah. Well, wait. There's more.
No, wait, there's more.
He is reading an ad.
Yeah, dude, I'm a UN asset. I've been trying to tell you guys.
I knew you were a fucking Fed.
Okay, here's number 5. Achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls.
Mm-hmm.
And here's
what
my
about
favorite.
trans?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. Okay, so here's my favorite. Within 10 years, they need to meet this, all right? End all poverty in all forms everywhere.
Mm.
Do you think they'll be able to do that in 10 years? That's a thinker, huh?
But wait, there's more. Do you know what they called it before they called it Agenda 2030?
No.
They called it Agenda 2021. Go ahead and look that up now.
Agenda 2021. Oh man, I messed that up. Let's see here. Agenda 21 equals Agenda 2030, and Agenda 2050 is a plan.
And this started in 1992.
Oh.
It was Agenda 2021 in 1992. I've been hearing about this since I was 6 years old.
So,
yeah.
On prepareforchange.net by Edward Morgan, we have Agenda 21 reinvented as Agenda 2030, and Agenda 2050 is a plan to depopulate 95% of the world population by 2030.
It's fantastic.
And you should see the little picture they have. They have like a Black Lives Matter fist, little stencil with half of the rectangle it's on with a Chinese flag and the other half with a UN flag.
Boys, who's feeling like a 5%er? I'm not feeling it. I don't think I'll be included.
They're implicating the Ford Foundation, George Soros, and Oxfam. Wow. But I thought Oxfam was supposed to be good. What's going on here?
I feel like we're being lied to, Cotton.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to entertain that thought. That's very possible. Oh, man, now I'm looking at... Oh, wait a minute, guys. On disclosed.tv, they said it is not true. Not in all caps.
Oh, well, if it's on the internet, then...
Should we check the Southern Poverty Law Center and see what they have to say?
No. Go to what's it called? Snopes. That's it.
Mm.
Oh, if you want to fact check something, you go to Snopes.
Mm-hmm.
Them boys at Snopes.
That's right. All right, Gonzo, do you want to hear my short review of this Imperial Stout?
Fuck yes, I want to hear that.
All right. It's pretty damn good.
All right, then.
It tastes about exactly like I thought it would. Like, I definitely taste the chocolate and the banana. I taste the banana a little bit more than the chocolate. But then, like, there's kind of a chocolate aftertaste, I guess.
Okay.
It is pretty good. Not the best imperial stout I've ever had, but it's a nice little drink. Nice little drinky poo.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you guys?
Go ahead.
Do you guys remember Greta Thunberg's little rant to the UN? I think it was.
Is that the girl that uses corn cobs for dildos because petroleum?
Wait, what? I hadn't heard that one, and I was better off for having not heard it.
You're welcome, Zero.
Gotta be sustainable.
Well, okay, so
right.
So you guys, do you guys remember?
How dare you?
So do you guys remember that they compared her little rant to a similar speech from like the 90s of another
from 1992 when they were implementing Agenda 2021? Yeah, I remember that.
Like, yeah, I'm looking at Agenda 2021. I was like, 1992, Rio de Janeiro. Yeah. That's when that little girl was giving her climate change screed.
Yeah, and you could look up the one of it was a niece of some high-ranking Iraqi talking about in Gulf War I, the babies being taken out of incubators and left to die on the floor. Once again, this brings us back to, the media empire in just the millennial lifetime and how much it has taken over.
Yeah, the U.S. has an interesting structure when it comes to the media, and we don't technically have state-run media, but it's like the people who own the media also own the state.
Yep.
But no one sees it. It's not state propaganda because it's privately owned. But yeah.
So what's the answer, boys? Because we can sit here and we can shoot holes in any number of philosophies, and we could have a 2-hour conversation on why Ancapistan is not going to ever happen, or if it did, how it would fail. So what is the actual answer in your estimation? What do you think?
The only thing that I think could possibly be it is if enough people just drop out and start doing their own thing. Don't give credence to state edicts. Grow your own food and avoid the crazies. But I don't know if there are enough people out there who are willing to do that. So
yeah, I don't think there are. That's my issue. I just I've become incredibly pessimistic after all the COVID stuff.
It really has been telling to see who are the sheep and who aren't. I've been looking at this. I've had a shift in my philosophy, and I tie it to martial arts, oddly enough. I studied Shotokan karate when I was growing up, and it's a combination of judo, jiu-jitsu, and karate. The throw, the break, the strike. There's 3 elements to that style. And I've started to feel much the same way about philosophy. I'm an anarchist, yes. I'm an agorist, yes. I'm also an individual, a rabid individual. And I feel like you kind of need those, you have to find what works for you and stop trying to apply convenient labels or psychological sticky notes. Actually figure out what works for you as the individual, because you have to. You're the motherfucker that has to live this life. So rather than conform to what, is available, what works for you and how can you implement it? That is the only possible solution I've come up with. And I sound like an idiot, but it's the best I've got.
Yeah, for some reason it came to mind as you were talking about that even in communist Russia, or like the Soviet Union, like they still had black markets, and the state, like, they knew about them, but they didn't crack down on them like they could have,
because it would have shut everything down.
Yeah, exactly. It was like party officials would go to black market dealers or gray market, to go get different luxuries or whatever. Yeah. People in the Soviet Union were wearing jeans.
That's a true statement.
But I don't know. Like, I think I can't help but think that a majority, I don't know about a vast majority, but I think greater than 50% of people would rather live in the world we have right now than would live in, like, our world of individualism and responsibility and self-ownership.
And the only workaround that's left is secession.
Yeah.
If California wants to live like California, so be it. Do Absolutely. So. Leave me the fuck alone.
Absolutely. But then, like, that, let's say that happens, like, let's say California secedes, then there will be the I don't know, greater Commonwealth of California and Washington and Oregon. I think that would probably be pretty likely. And then there would be the United States of America.
There's the other side of secession that people don't talk about, and it is, what do you do when they try to expand? Because people talk about California like, oh, fuck them, they're a bunch of soy boy idiots, and they have 10 round magazines, and this is all true. But you know what there is? A fuck lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do want to take over Oregon and then Washington, what are we going to do? Go to war with California? A house divided against itself cannot stand. Fuck me. Are we going to resurrect the bones of Abe Lincoln because that's our best option? Like, you don't ever hear that side of the secession argument. I think that the only remedy is to be a individualist that holds themselves responsible for their basic needs. That's, I can't see another way, but I'm just a dumb Ohio boy, so.
Well, I don't know if you saw this, Zero, and I don't want to talk about the story too much because I'm like maybe a third through the book, but recently I picked up The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, which you had been recommending me read for a long time, and Paz, our good buddy Dexter De La Paz, Dogman Respecter on Twitter, has been recommending me read for a long time. That's where his name comes from. And the character Bernardo De La Paz says something near the beginning of the book. I'm only a third through, mind you, but he talks about, like, his political philosophy, rational anarchism. Where,
yes, it's a beautiful quote.
Yeah, like he says, and I might butcher it a bit, but I'm going to do my best. Like he says that he can't help what society is doing around him, but the best he can do is be beholden to his own conscience. And I think that is kind of a lot of ANCAPs that truly believe in like Ancapistan would find that kind of defeatist. But I think that like, hey, you know, say shit goes down and, you know, you may not have as long a life as you had planned on, you know, but at least you're right with yourself than, you know, you being right with the state. And then like, which would be better? You know, you lived your life as well as you personally could and as free as you could, and you die at 60 versus, you know, you play the game and you get your Social Security and but you live to 80. And I'm having a hard time enunciating it, but I find that kind of attractive, you know, because it's more of a where I think a lot. Okay, this is what I'm getting at. I think a lot of ANCAPs still think collective, like in the group. You know, I think they still think with kind of a collectivist mindset, because a hell of a lot of them probably went to public school and they can't help it. Or they just don't know any better. I mean, they can help it, but they just don't know any better. So they're thinking in the collective, and they're thinking, you know, we need an ANCAP society. That's it. That'll fix everything.
No.
But that's incredibly utopian. You know, so
it is.
I think before being right with society, they need to think about, like Jordan Peterson said this too, like you got to be right with yourself before you're right with anything or anybody else. You know, it all starts at the individual level. And I think a lot of ANCAPs get into the community through economics, and that is a very economics. I do believe that it is limited, but I think that economics, it does start at the individual, but you don't get very far in economics just thinking at the individual level. You gotta think at the societal level before you get into anything interesting. And I think a lot of people get into that mode of thinking, which isn't that much different than thinking as like a modern statist or a communist or whatever. They're thinking societally instead of individually. And I think that's a grave mistake. And I've come to that conclusion fairly recently.
Yes. And you are completely correct.
But I was never able to put it into words until just now. But I never really was able to even begin until reading like that little that quote from Bernardo.
I am free because I know that I alone am morally responsible for everything that I do. I am free no matter what rules surround me. If I find them tolerable, I tolerate them. If I find them too obnoxious, I break them. I am free because I know that I alone am morally responsible for everything I do. Robert Anson Heinlein.
Absolutely. Exactly, man. And you know, I don't know. Like I don't know how much you pay attention to Pete Quinones, Free Man Beyond the Wall, and Bird from the Friends Against Government. But they've been kind of like right now they're kind of tastemakers in like the ANCAP community, especially Pete. But Bird has been like Bird. I don't know if he genuinely believes that economics are fake. I don't believe that economics are fake, but I do think that economics aren't nearly as, or at least as an educational tool, I don't think economics are very consequential. You know, and a hell of a lot of people have used economics as like their main tactic to get people to think like we do. You know, and part of the issue with that is like that's step one. But a vast majority of people aren't interested in that, so they never get past step one. So they keep trying to rework how to make Austrian economics like interesting to a popular audience. You know, and
it's hard to explain Austrian economics to people who are raised in a Keynesian system.
Yeah.
That, I absolutely. But then, like, part of the, I don't think it's so much they're raised on a Keynesian system as they're raised to believe that that's just not something they should concern themselves with. You know?
Too complicated.
It's too complicated. They're smarter people than you. You know, it's a bunch of, like, I don't know if you saw, it was either today or yesterday, Neil deGrasse Tyson tweeted a thing about, like, he said something along the lines of, if I were abducted by aliens, I would ask the aliens if they lived on a planet where people didn't believe science either. And, oh, God, just screw off, dude.
He's so smug. He's such a smug fuck.
Man, and
people that believe in economics are the same people that believe that the Federal Reserve is part of the federal government and not a private bank. These are the same people, and they are the majority.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fucking trouble.
Yeah.
And I hope, the glimmer of hope that I see is that maybe with the shit show that has been 2020, that people will consider a foil hat to be a badge of honor. Like, oh no, maybe these motherfuckers have been onto something the whole time. I've had friends of mine come to me and say, like, dude, I thought you were fucking psychotic, but everything that you've said, like, here we are. There is a extreme roll of law scenario in some of our largest cities. This is happening. And well, no, that's just the stupid commie protesters, and it's okay. The cops will stomp their brains and put an end to it. Like, you're missing the fucking point. This is happening.
Mm.
Yeah. You know, like, I don't think I've really talked about my dad that much on the podcast, but my dad has for a long time been very doom and gloom, you know, and like, he's had that prepper mindset for a hell of a long time. And he was telling me after all this COVID stuff, he was like, there are people that are upset with me because they knew I was right. He said, like, in the early 2000s, I bought a box of surgical masks and people were laughing at me. But now, you know, all the crap we have that, like, to I mean, like you were saying earlier, just stockpiling, you know, like, and people are just, and what really worries me is the people that, like, when shit really hits the fan, the people that are completely caught flat-footed. You know, like, that's...
They're going to be the dangerous ones. The first to die, but also dangerous.
like a cornered animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's spooky. But, like, I don't think anything meaningful can happen without bringing more people to our side. But I do not think... First and foremost, I don't think politics is the right way to bring people to our side. Like, I think what Ron Paul did was great, but I don't think having another Ron Paul is enough. You know, which is like the entire
and it's not going to happen.
LP. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. Yeah,
at this point, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
you cannot rebuild a stable structure that will last on a rotten foundation.
Yep.
Yeah.
You simply cannot. If your foundation is shot, you have to completely rethink, revamp, and redo. The system is a fucking failure. We can prove this. This is not a question.
Yeah.
You have to, like Jordan Peterson said, you have to fractionate it down to the level of the individual, and then you have to be responsible for yourself. If you cannot do that, you will fail, because the system will fail. Every system ever devised by man has failed. If you can't handle it on an individual level, I would advise figuring out how to real fucking fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's my contention.
But like, I just don't know what the next move is, you know, because like, I know there are a lot of people that just don't care about politics at all, but I always believed that, like, if we just had another Ron Paul, you know, if we have like another Ron Paul in the LP that can educate people and get the message out there, everything would be great. And like we could get like an actual libertarian, at least in the debate, and that would completely change the entire dynamic. But now I obviously that's never going to happen now. Like, I don't think an LP person would ever be in the debate, and if they were, that would be incredibly suspect.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
I mean,
what is the Libertarian Party doing? They're talking about taking federal funds for. That's the whole fucking point of you, is that you don't do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not Libertarian. I have never been a Libertarian Party member. I've been an anarchist since 2001. That's when I realized that everything was fucked.
No.
But to watch these people that are adjacent to me and a lot of my friends, oh, but we need the federal money. Like, did you hear what just came out of your mouth, motherfucker? You just said that. And I'm happy to see the movement gaining some attention, but they're doing it for the wrong fucking reasons.
Yeah. Like, I think Twitter and podcasts have done more for like the ANCAP or just anarchist community than the LP or even Ron Paul ever did. You know, and I mean, maybe you can say that like people like Dave Smith got into libertarianism because of Ron Paul, and then Dave Smith got a ton of people in. But I think that none of this could have happened without Ron Paul, but I don't think another Ron Paul is the answer. And that's like what I'm trying to...
Do you know who we need more than another Ron Paul?
Please tell me.
We need another George Carlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We need another Bill Hicks.
I was worried you were going to say George Washington.
These are the people we need.
I agree, Gonzo. I agree completely.
We need George Carlin. We need Bill Hicks. We need people that got more attention than Jo Jorgensen will ever have in her whole fucking life to say these things out loud to the public. Dave Smith, I'm not going to bash Dave Smith. He doesn't make me laugh. He doesn't scratch my personal...
He's not very funny. He's not very
Maybe
funny.
I'm too smooth-brained for him.
Maybe.
But, you know, Carlin is what brought me in. Hicks is what brought me in. Hunter S. Thompson brought me in. We don't need more fucking politicians. They're the motherfuckers that are lining up to play the game.
Yeah.
We need people to educate people and to make them laugh and to show them how silly they are, because comedy reflects how silly the human condition is.
Yeah.
Politics is just a giant circle jerk of, well, let's make fun of the other douchebag. Like, motherfucker, how far does that get you?
Yeah.
That's my contention. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying I'm an asshole.
Well, I just know like a lot of, and I think Zero, I think you are on the same page with me on this. Please tell me if you aren't. But I think a lot of things that I accepted as true for a long time, recently I'm having issues with, you know, and I just it's kind of led me down some rabbit holes that, like, I'm just kind of, I feel like I used to have a like orientation for like which direction me and society should go, but then recently I've just kind of I feel like my compass doesn't work anymore, and I'm kind of just moving in the dark, and like I'm not so worried about like what I do personally, because I trust my own moral compass, but I as far as like what to do to get more people interested in, not even agreeing, but just interested. I think that's all you can really do in like what we're doing, like anarchist thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I used to think it was through politics, and I'm not convinced it's agorism either, you know, because everybody thinks it's black and white. It's either LP or agorism. But
agorism's an element. It's not a philosophy. It's something you apply. It's not something. It's not an entire philosophy.
Yeah.
And SEK3 said that this is not meant to be an all-encompassing theory. It's an application of starving the state and employing your efforts in markets other than the legitimate.
Yeah.
Whether it be black, gray, or whatever you want to call it. I didn't mean to step on you, Zero. It's just that popped into my head.
No, you're good. I mean, my brain is kind of all over right now. Just, like, I know we had talked quite a bit over the past 2 weeks, but like I was telling you, like, this week's been kind of rough, and so I'm not, like, it hasn't been like a continuous thought on my mind with philosophy and all that. But as I'm thinking right now, I kind of wonder if it matters so much that people like come to our side or like kind of learn, you know, the principles of liberty so much. If only because I'm pessimistic and I don't think that there's a whole lot of time before like it matters, you know, like who you have around you that agrees with you. And I'm kind of wondering, like, if it's one of those things where, like, hey, I need to go around my neighborhood and like talk to people, you know. Yeah. Like I don't need them to be, like, I don't need them to know what libertarianism is. Like, I just like need them, like, I need to, you know, maybe I need to like step up and be like, hey, you know.
Is this like The Walking Dead? How many people have you killed? Why? You know, a particular set of questions to ask to see where you fall on things.
Yeah, you know, yeah, exactly. It's,
well, that kind of gets into the next, or like what I've been thinking. Like, I've talked about it on the podcast, but I don't know if you know that much about it, Gonzo. Jacob, that organizes Childeberg, is talking about Childeberg Town, That's like his
Yes.
his idea. And
Yes.
I am highly interested because like he's talking about like southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, which I'm interested in moving there anyway. And that gets into the main thing that I'm thinking about nowadays is like what I've been talking about has been on my mind like daily, but it's not priority number one for me. Priority number one is finding a good homestead and finding a good woman. You know, that's that's the
helps.
main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Gonzo.
What I have done myself to remedy that as an individual is I am building a modular homestead that I can put on a trailer and I can fuck off to wherever I decide to go and kind of have a, instant homestead, as it were. I have an RV. I have a tiny house. I built all of my livestock, my chicken coop, my duck huts. They're all built to fit on a trailer so that I can pull them with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem I have with the Childerberg town or the Free County project, or Spirko had an idea for this a few years ago as well. Once you get above 200 people in a community, it automatically starts to devolve. You can only deal with a certain number of people on a regular basis before you run into real fucking issues. Jordan Peterson fucking touched on this. Several people have talked about it. And there comes a point where it gets too big to be self-sustainable. And, I'm not like advocating a return to tribalism or anything, but what I'm personally worried about is my own Childerberg town, because I want my children and their children to have to grow up. It's not going to have 100 people, in 10 years, but in 30, it just fucking might. So how do I build the infrastructure for that now to survive my, progeny into the future? That's my concern. Politics aside, that's just a shit show. But how do you take care of yours, and theirs that you aren't even thinking of yet? My kids are, 4 and 5 years old. I've got 20 years before I start having grandkids to worry about. But what am I going to do when they're here?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know the answer. I just don't know.
Individualism. That's all I can come up with, and you can find that in the libertarian movement. Self-responsibility, not relying on the state. These are all great things, but they're just the beginning. There are many steps after that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there are further steps. And I think a lot of people in our community can't help but think, they think the next step and then they can't think further. Because the next step has been just so hard to accomplish that they can't even think about the next one after that. And then they make the mistake of thinking that as long as we can reach the next step, everything will be okay. That's not accurate. Like, there's a lot of work to be done after that first step. But, and that's where I think a lot of ANCAP types fall into, like, utopian traps,
You're assuming there's going to be a market for you to capitalize on.
Yeah.
My answer to that is learn how to grow really good pot, learn how to grow opium, learn how to distill moonshine or make brandy or, mead, learn how, because what's never going to go away? Human vice. Do you know what people spend most of their extra money on? Their vices. This is how you create a market to operate in. Solid skills that you can market. I'm a metal worker. I'm a farmer. I can grow pot. I can grow food. You know, these are skills that I've spent my adult life gathering so that I can turn around and sell them for money. We're all whores. We sell our fucking time an hour at a time for a set amount. That's the current paradigm. It's not always going to be that way, but you're still going to need those skills.
Yeah. And related to that, as I near the end of my Imperial Stout and we near the end of our recording, Gonzo, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what you've been indulging in tonight?
All right. I have some Fruity Pebbles that taste like God's vagina. It is so good. Extremely high THC content. I believe I saw 28. Something ridiculous like that. And I'm drinking some Quiet Man 8-year-old single malt Irish whiskey. And it's been a lovely evening, gentlemen.
Very nice. Zero, what energy drinks have you had today?
Finishing up a Monster right now.
You're what? Repeat that real quick.
Finishing up a Monster right now.
Very nice. I have had some Clown Shoes Galactica Double IPA. I mentioned to y'all before we recorded, and then I had this, let's see here, Untitled Art Chocolate Banana Imperial Stout, which was really good. I wasn't sure about how it was going to taste, but I really enjoyed it. I've officially had it all. But, so Gonzo, why don't you go ahead and give your plugs?
I've got one. It's pretty simple. I'm Gonzo01201 on Twitter. I have a Keybase. It's private. No feds allowed. Hit me up on Twitter. We'll get you there. If you're not a fed.
Hell yeah. And Gonzo's Twitter will be in the show notes below as well. And Gonzo is also on our Discord. And
yes,
our Discord is popping. And if you aren't on our Discord, you are not cool. And it is
the cool kids club. Definitely. Yeah, you got to get there.
Got to get on our Discord. Yeah. So Zero, why don't you go ahead and start the outro?
Sure. I'm Liberty Zero, reminding you to zero your rifle.
And I'm Cotton Archist, reminding you to pick cotton voluntarily.